Well, friends, in the year of our Lord, 2009, the artist formerly known as Hannah Montana, you may know her as Miley Cyrus. She came out with an iconic ballad called It's the Climb. Anybody familiar? All right, now I'm going to call upon you later. Just stay with me. Now, friends, I'm not really one for country music. It's not really my thing, but this song, for me, it's almost like a gospel song, okay? Like, because it just hits me right here. I mean, there are days where I'm having a rough day, and I'm just in my car, driving back home, and I just turn this song on. And I just start singing to the top of my lungs. I just start going, I can almost see it, that dream I'm dreaming, but there's a voice inside my head saying, you'll never reach it. I knew somebody was going to sing with me today, so I got the lyrics up for you on the screen. Every step I'm taking, that move I make feels lost with no direction. My faith is shaking, but I gotta keep trying. I gotta keep my head held high. Why I gotta do it? There's always gonna be another mountain. I'm always gonna wanna make it move. Always gonna be an uphill battle. But sometimes I'm gonna have to lose. Ain't about how fast I get there. Ain't about what's waiting on the other side. Wait a minute. Wait. Ain't about what's... I know we want to get to the iconic It's the Climb, but we got to deal with this. We got to deal with this lyric. It ain't about what's waiting on the other side. Is that true? I don't know about you, but the climb is only its worth its destination. Like, the journey is only as worthy as its destination. I mean, let's think about this for a second. For those of you who are in the room intentionally working towards your fitness goals, God bless you. I mean, you're getting up early or staying up late. You're working out 5 to 6 times a week. You're watching your calorie count. You're saying no to ice cream, pizza, French fries. And if you on that E2M stuff and you intermittently fasting, you saying no to brunch? My God. Like, I think that it's more than, you're doing this for more than just the climb, right? But that you're expecting to see some changes on the other side of all of that effort. Changes on the scale, changes in your pants size, changes in your overall quality of life. Doesn't it matter what's on the other side? What about those of you in the room that are leveling up in your education, right? You're working full time and you're going to grad school, and you mean to tell me you just doing that for the climb? It ain't. You're just doing that so you can learn some things. And some of y'all have the audacity to just be out here showing off, and y'all got these babies and you got these spouses and you still doing all this work. You just doing it for the climb? Aren't you doing this work for the potential opportunities and pay raises that could be waiting for you on the other side? Aren't you doing all this work for the potential of being able to make a difference in the world and in the lives of others? Doesn't what's on the other side matter? And listen, we're my D group leaders in the room. We call our missional community group leaders. We love you, but D group leaders, you committed to walk closely with somebody for the next year, 2 to 5 people. And listen, you know that it's more than just that 1 to 2 hour commitment in the week. It's praying for them, my God. It's preparing for the lesson. It's answering phone calls. It's saying hard things that you don't even want to say. It's hard work. You're not just doing it for the climb. Now, don't get me wrong. You love the climb. I love the climb, okay? I love the climb. I love walking alongside people. But I'm not doing it for the climb. I'm doing it for the destination. Because what I expect to see on the other side is somebody who can lead a D group. What What I hope to see on the other side is someone who knows God more deeply and wants to follow him more fully. What I hope to see on the other side are people who want to believe, belong, and become. I'm not just in it for the journey. The destination matters. So I really don't care what Miss Miley Cyrus has to say. And yes, this song got ruined for me this week, so I have to find something else. Because what matters, it does matter what's on the other side. The journey is only as worthy as its destination. Both matter. And as we come to the book of Proverbs, this becomes all the more clear that the destination does truly matter. And we're going to see that today in our text, Proverbs chapter 9. Because while the book of Proverbs may be filled with wise and catchy sayings that can't be read as, or interpreted or implied as a promise, there is one overarching promise of the book of Proverbs. There is a promise in it, and it's this, is that the way of folly leads to certain death, but the path of wisdom leads to the good life. The way of folly leads to a certain death, but the path of wisdom leads to the good life. Let's turn our attention first to Lady Folly in Proverbs 9, starting at verse 13. It says this, it says, the woman Folly is loud. She is seductive and knows nothing. She sits at the door of her house. She takes a seat on the highest places of town, calling to those who pass by, who are going straight on their way. Whoever is simple, let them turn in here. And to him who lacks sense, stolen water is sweet, and bread eaten in secret is pleasant. But he does not know that there are dead in there, that her guests are in the depths of Sheol. Lady Folly, she is seductive and secretive. She does not show all of her cards, but best believe she is always bluffing. She sits at the highest places in town, offering to those who pass by promises that she cannot keep. She offers to them water that is stolen. She offers to them bread that is too shameful for them to even enjoy in public. I mean, think about it. Doesn't it sound familiar? When temptation comes calling, in order for you to enjoy its food, its pleasures, the things that it offers, you have to do it in hiding. You got to go clear your search history. You got to tell half-truths and full truths in order to not draw suspicion to yourself. You show up at church or in your missional community group or your D group, but you show up as your false self. You don't want people to see who you truly are. You don't want to truly confess the things that are in your closet. You don't want to be fully known. But friend, listen, if you got to lie and sneak to kick it, that journey may not be worth it. In fact, I know that it's not, because look at what's on the other side of drinking Folly's stolen water and eating her bread. Verse 18, and this time I'm going to read it in the New Living Translation. It says, but little do they, meaning those who walk up to her door, little do they who walk up to her door know that the dead are there. But her guests are in the depths of the grave. Friends, when I read this passage this week, there were two images that I could not get out of my mind. That Lady Folly has in her house, wall to wall, full of dead bodies. You ever seen hoarders? Right? If you go into Lady Folly's house, what you're going to find are not boxes just stacked all the way up to the wall or empty containers with food or those kinds of things. When you walk into her house, what you're going to see are body bags. But that's not all. It's not all you're going to see. Can I share with y'all a visual that's been keeping me off the way of Folly all week? It's dark. I'm going to give you a heads up there. But let's do a little visualization exercise because I want you to know the truth. And if you feel comfortable enough, maybe even consider closing your eyes. Imagine that you're walking down one of the streets in your neighborhood. You're just walking, minding your own business. And there you find a new neighbor sitting on their front porch. And she calls out to you, "Howdy, neighbor. So good to see you. Hey, it's a beautiful day, isn't it? I just moved into town. And I just want you to know, if you ever need anything, and I'm talking anything, I got you. I got sugar, flour, loopholes, and instant gratification. You see, I know it's hard out here with the world being all broken, fallen, and all that. But I got all kind of doodads and whatnots here for you to escape to enjoy. I got handsome men and beautiful women in here. Now, I'm going to be honest with you, they're not all perfect. And some of them ain't even really that good. But they get the job done. And at least you won't be lonely. It's too hard out here to not have somebody to keep you warm in your bed at night. Oh, I'm sorry, I see that you're married. I missed that ring on your finger. Are you happy? Well, let's be honest, who's always really happy? So if you ever need some relief, you just go ahead and come on around here. These men and these women are available to you. But if you ain't the cheating type, don't worry, I got some other options for you as well. Just come on by. And if you ain't got lonely problems, but you got the problems of the financial kind, I got some illegal and legal options for you to consider. You can hustle, steal, and lie, or you can strive, overfunction, and compete with others to get to the top. Now listen, neither of these paths are for the faint at heart, but the reward will be worth it. All the success, money, power, and influence that you could ever need, I got it right here. Just holler at me. And there you are, standing in the middle of the road, trying to make a decision about whether or not you're going to go into Lady Folly's house. You know that you shouldn't go in, but you feel like you don't have any other option. You didn't tell yourself that it will only be this one time, that this is only going to be a temporary solution or relationship. So you walk up to her door. The moment that you step over the threshold, you fall into a grave. The moment you step over the threshold, your foot doesn't hit the floor. You fall into a grave. If your eyes are closed, feel free to open them. Friends, here's what I need you to know. To fall into temptation is to fall into a grave. Lady Folly has prepared a grave for you. She has no good intentions for you or your life. She cares nothing about you. All she cares about is tallying up her body count. What she wants for you is death. And she wants that for you both here in the temporal here and now and in the eternal later. You see, the way of folly has prepared a grave for you. And I know that that's dark, and I know that we don't want to hear that, but it's true. And it's what the author wants us to understand so that we don't turn into her. But here's the thing, friends. I think sometimes when we think about the Christian life and when we think about the ways of the wise and the ways of the folly, like I think that sometimes we're just focused on like the eternal death part. But there is death that can be experienced in the here and now when we choose to go into the way of folly. What do I mean by this? So when I was a college student, I was broke and I ain't had no job, but I was at the mall. I was at the mall, okay? I had to get that fit for that party, okay? Because I wanted to go in there, and I wanted everybody to turn their head and be like, okay, girl, I saw you with your sweats on Monday, but you look good. Like, I wanted people to revere me. So there I am in the mall with my friend, and I pick up all the stuff that I want, and I go to the register. But I guess I wasn't looking at the price tags, because when I got up there, I realized that I didn't have enough money. And my friend was like, oh, girl, you can just get a credit card. Yeah, just get a credit card. Like, you don't have to pay anything today, but you'll have to, like, pay it back later. Now, friends, I didn't ask enough questions. All I heard was, I didn't have to pay today. That's what I heard. And so I started to pull out the paperwork. I get my stuff, and I get dressed for the party, and I have a pretty decent time. A month later, the bill came. And remember, I'm a broke college student without a job. I remember when my mama called, my God, today. She said, sis, you didn't got a credit card? I said, ooh, how you know? She was like, well, you know the address on there, it come here. It comes to this house. But friends, what I didn't realize was that the credit card would lead to a grave of debt. That the road of instant gratification would lead to a grave of instant anxiety about money. And I'm sure that you have stories like this in your own life where you have taken the way of folly and unexpectedly ended up in a grave. Someone made you angry, and you felt like you just needed to say what you needed to say. You just had to get it off your chest and put them in their place. But what you fail to remember, that what's on the other side of you getting it off your chest is a grave filled with words that you cannot take back, and relational harms that can take years to repair. Way of folly leads to a grave. Or maybe you're like me, you're a procrastinator. Procrastinator in the room? Okay, God bless you. Me too. You know, this is a safe place. You have a habit of putting off to tomorrow what you can get done today. And what do? You reap a grave. You fall into a grave of anxiety and missed deadlines, flaking on your friends, missing out on opportunities, and being utterly exhausted. But friends, there is a better way to live. There's a better way to live, and we know this. So my question is, why do we continuously give into procrastination, anger, and folly? Can I share with you my theory? I think that we do this because our attention is too focused on what Miss Cyrus calls the climb. We're too distracted by the journey of cheap thrills and temporal successes and easy money and power that folly can offer us. And so we're so distracted by those things, the journey, what it can do for us, that we forget its certain destination. But listen, friends, the way of folly always leads to a certain death. And it does so in the temporal here and now and in the eternal later. So yes, it may give you some immediate relief. It may get you, a couple of rungs up the corporate ladder. It may even make you happy. But sooner or later, it will bury you in the grave that it has prepared for you. And it will do it with pleasure. Because here's the thing, friend, I don't know if you know it, but the person behind folly is the devil. And the last time I was up here, I told you, he don't like you. He's got a threefold agenda. He wants to kill, steal, and destroy you. You and everything that's attached to you. He wants to kill, steal, and destroy you. And so every time temptation comes knocking at your door, you need to remember, you need to believe that the devil has prepared a grave for you. And that as soon as you step your foot over the threshold of your immediate needs getting met, you will fall into a grave. And I don't say this to scare you. I say this to warn you. And if it's hard to hear, just know it's hard to say. But I love you. I love you. And I don't want you to continue to fall for Satan's lies. He's telling you that you won't surely die. He's telling you that it won't be as bad as you think that it will be. He's telling you that, hey, yes, you'll fall in this pit, but don't worry, God will pull you out. And that's true. But remember who you're talking to. You're talking to a liar. You're talking to someone who has a history of twisting words. Adam and Eve in the garden, you won't surely die. What? I'm not going to die today? Is that what you mean? But the moment they fall for his lies, sin and death and brokenness enter into the world. Friends, I've been asking the Lord, help me. Help me to see what's really happening when I turn into the way of folly. Help me to see what's really happening with spiritual eyes when I give into sin. Friends, this is what's happening. When you fall into temptation, when you fall into sin, you are falling into grave. So when temptation comes knocking, remember the devil is bluffing. He cannot give you the good life. He cannot give you what you want or what you need. All he has are counterfeits. And all he can offer you is death. But wisdom is not bluffing. Wisdom can make good on all of her promises, and she comes that you might have life. Look with me at Proverbs 9, starting at verse 1. It says, wisdom has built her house. She has hewn her 7 pillars. She has slaughtered her breast. She has mixed her wine. She has also set her table. She has sent out her young women to call from the highest places in the town. Whoever is simple, let him turn in here. To him who lacks sense, come eat my bread. My bread ain't stolen. Come eat my bread and drink the wine I have mixed. Leave your simple ways and live and walk in the way of insight. Friends, first thing I want you to see here are the differences between Lady Wisdom and Lady Folly. They have qualitatively different character, approaches, and outcomes. Let's start with different character. You see, Lady Wisdom, she's built different. She has built her house. It is sturdy, and she has cooked her food. It's mixed her wine and set her tables. But Lady Folly, you may remember, she's described as loud, as brash, as seductive, as secretive. The New Living Translation even puts it this way. It says she is ignorant and she don't even know it. Y'all, those are some of the most dangerous people on the planet. Not the ignorant ones. They got their own kind of danger, but the ones who are ignorant and don't even know it. They think they know it all. And that's what folly presents as. She is ignorant, but she knows nothing. But wisdom is different. She knows better. And she can always, somebody say always? Always. She can always be trusted. In Proverbs 8, she is described as being present at the very foundation of creation. She is described as a tool used by God to bring forth the entirety of the heavens and the earth. And what the author is trying to say to us about wisdom is that wisdom is woven into the very fabric of all of creation. And that she understands with a great deal of clarity how the world is supposed to work. Why? Because she was there in the beginning. Yeah. She got more intel on you than you got on yourself. She knows what is good. She's not like Folly. She's not ignorant. No, she's very smart. She knows all things. Here at Vertical Church, we often describe this truth as saying that when God created the world, he created with both design and direction. What do we mean by that? By design, we mean that he created the physical structure and the function of all things. By direction, we mean that he gives purpose to all things. And we see this so clearly in Genesis 1 and 2. God hangs 2 great lights in the sky, the sun and the moon. He designs one of these lights to be greater than the other. And he designs one of them to rule over the day and the other to rule over the night. But why? What is its purpose? What is its direction? We find that in Genesis 1:14, where he says so that lights would be a sign for seasons and for days and for years. There's design, but there's also direction. But let's do a harder one. Let's talk about sex. Because let's be honest, we're all thinking about it. Some of us are participating in it. So let's just go ahead and put it on the table. Is that okay? Sex is a harder one. But God created both the design and the direction of sex. It is an act, but it is an act that has a purpose. Folly will have you out here thinking that sex is primarily for your pleasure, for your enjoyment, for your fulfillment. But that is not true. Remember, she's ignorant, and she don't even know that she's ignorant. Wisdom, on the other hand, which can always be trusted because it is woven into the very fabric of creation, because it was there in the beginning, it has a different story to tell. You see, in the creation narrative, we find that sex was created by God, but that it was created by God for procreation, intimacy, and yes, pleasure, but that this threefold purpose is to only be enjoyed in the context of marriage. That is the direction of sex. Now listen, I stand up here before you as a single person. I have to submit to this truth. And I submit to it because I believe that God knows what's better for me. He created me. He wired me. He knows what is best for me. And I cannot continue to fall for folly and all of her temptation and her sin and believe that if I go out here, that I'm going to be okay. Because remember, she's prepared a grave for you. A grave. You're not just falling into somebody's bed. You're falling into a grave. And that's what's true. That's what's happening when you make those kinds of decisions. That's what it's hard. I don't want to say it, but that's true. And we need to know it. We need to believe it. We need to accept it. Because here's what. Y'all, I'm burdened. Because the devil is lying to us. He's lying to us. He's lying to you. And maybe it's not sex. Maybe it's something else. But he's lying to you. Remember his character. Temptation comes from a person, and his name is Satan. But wisdom comes from a person too, and his name is God. And he can be trusted because he is good. And he can be trusted because he loves you. He did not create you to turn around and just kill, steal, and destroy you. No, he created you so that he might give you life. That's the desire of his heart. He's not out here just raining on your parades. He's not out here being a party pooper. He loves you, and he knows what's best for you. And this comes across in his approach. You see, Lady Folly and Lady Wisdom, they have two different approaches. You may remember earlier that Folly is described as sitting on her front porch making offering to us stolen water and offering us to bread that can only be eaten in secret. Her approach is not intentional. It's passive. She's just sitting on her porch, calling out to people who just minding their business. But what Lady Folly, she takes a different approach. She prepares a meal, a banquet. Have you ever been to somebody's house and you know that they really went in on the meal? Don't you feel so loved by that? I love food. I feel so loved by that. She prepares a meal and mixes her own wine, stolen water, mixes her own wine. There's a difference there. And even then, we see that she sends out her servants to call people into her house. Now, when I was reading this week, I was like, yo, why is wisdom working so hard? Why is wisdom working so hard? Like, is wisdom working so hard because we're hard of hearing? Or is wisdom working so hard because wisdom cares? Wisdom loves. Wisdom wants what's best for us. And friends, I'm going to say it's probably both. Because as Elder Fred said last week, no one drifts into wisdom. No one. And in our fallen, broken state, our hearts are bent towards folly. Sometimes we don't even really need a push. Folly don't even have to call us up. We calling up Folly. Hey girl, what you doing tonight? Trying to get into some trouble? We're calling her up ourselves. And wisdom knows this. Knows that we're bent towards folly and its ways. And so wisdom is intentional. It makes a concerted effort to get our attention and sends out It's servants. Yeah, I can't help but think about God, who sends out his servant, Jesus, to get our attention. Here, Lady Folly gets bread and wine prepared for her guests. Does that sound familiar? Is not Jesus the bread of life? Did he not say, drink from this cup because this cup is representative of my blood? Y'all, this is the meal that God has prepared for us. Jesus. And he goes to such great lengths because he cares, because he loves us, because he wants to get our attention. And because he wants to give us life, which leads us to the different outcomes. Over and over, Proverbs makes this one promise that the ways of wisdom leads to the good life. Look with me real quick to Proverbs 3:18. It says this. Y'all, when I saw this week, I almost jumped out of my seat. You can ask Lauren Watkins, our kids director. She was sitting right there. I said, oh my God. But Proverbs 3:18, it says this. It says, wisdom is a tree of life to those who lay hold of. Those who hold her fast are called blessed. Y'all, wisdom is a tree of life. That should ping something in your mind. This same tree of life that was in the garden with Adam and Eve in the beginning, the author is saying that we have access to that tree right now, in the here and now. The same tree that Adam and Eve passed over for the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, this is the same tree that we have access to. The same tree, the tree of life that Adam and Eve and the whole human race was cut off from because of sin, we now have access to it. That now through wisdom, whose beginning is found in the fear of wisdom, we can access this tree of life in the here and now. Friends, wisdom leads to good life. And I don't know if you were here a couple of weeks ago, but we said this about the good life, that the good life isn't about comfort and ease. But the good life is a life that pulls you into deeper knowledge of God and fellowship with him. That is the good life. I know you want more money, you want cars, you want careers, you want all of those things. You think those things are going to give you the good life. But that's not how the Bible, that's not how wisdom defines good life. And remember, she knows what's best for you. That's what you need. And it goes back to that whole concept of design, direction. You see, friends, you and I, we were created, we were designed for the purpose of relationship with God. You are hardwired for God. One song artist says that there is a void in your life that can only be filled by God. That thing that you're longing for, that thing that you're standing in the middle of the street, just waiting, trying to make a decision. You think Folly has it for you. No, God has it. He is it for you. And that's the direction that your life and my life is intended to move in. So friends, we're closing right here. I just really have one question for you today. And I didn't want to ask it. It's not even here on my notes. But it's been nagging in my head. Who you booking with? Lady Folly has a house. It's got dead bodies in there. It's dark in there. It's just a grave. All of what she can offer you, that's where that's going to lead. Lady Wisdom has a house. She has a meal for you. That meal is Jesus. That meal is the good life that puts you into a relationship with God, that brings you into a deeper knowledge and fellowship with him. Who are you booking with? Who are you making your RSVP with? In both the temporal here and now and in the eternal later. Because here's the thing, friends. I wish the world was different. But the wisdom of the world is this. There are consequences for sin. The wisdom of the world is what you sow is what you will reap. That's the rule. Now, there are exceptions to that rule. We saw that in Job. We'll see that in Ecclesiastes. Those are exceptions. But by and large, the pattern is what you sow, you will reap. So will you turn into folly, or will you turn into wisdom? But whatever you do, remember the destination. Don't get so caught up in the journey, thinking that folly is going to be easier because it's got instant gratification, because it's got pleasures, quick fixes. Yeah, it'll give you that in the interim, but remember where it's going. And I think sometimes we have a hard time turning into wisdom because we know it'll be harder. We know that it'll take discipline. We know that we'll have to die to ourselves. We know that we'll have to say no to something that we want. So we don't want to turn into that kind of journey. But friends, let me tell you something. I've been walking with Jesus for 20 years, and it is absolutely worth it. I didn't have to say no to myself in a lot of ways, but it is absolutely worth it. Jesus is worth it. The good life, knowing him, is worth it. So let's stop turning into folly. Let's start turning into wisdom. Let's bind wisdom to our hearts.